My name is Madison Clark, and I was 28 when my carefully curated world began to unravel, thanks to a door left ajar, and a stepbrother who was never supposed to know my truth. We weren't close growing up. Ryan and I met when our parents married when I was 16, and he was 17. Our relationship was neutral at best, strained at worst. He was the quiet one, introspective, smart, always 2 steps ahead. I, on the other hand, was the people pleaser, the one always smiling at the dinner table, hiding storms behind polite laughter. We both moved out after college but found ourselves back under the same roof years later, when our parents downsized and asked us to house sit their old place for a while. It was supposed to be temporary, just a few weeks, a chance to save some rent and help the family. But those few weeks were long enough to expose everything I thought I'd hidden so well. I was married to a man named Travis. On paper, our life was perfect. He was handsome, successful, and adored by everyone around us. We had a beautiful home, matching coffee mugs, Sunday brunch traditions, the whole social media fantasy. But that's all it was. A fantasy. Behind the filters and captions, we were strangers sleeping on the same mattress. He was always away, buried in work or distant on purpose, and I had grown exhausted trying to resuscitate a love that had died quietly while no one was watching. Loneliness has a funny way of making you reach for the wrong hands. Mine reached for someone else's, someone who wasn't mine. His name was Chase. He was my coworker, gentle, warm, and everything I wasn't getting at home. It started innocently, over late-night coffee after meetings, sharing frustrations about life and relationships. Before long, my heart was tangled in something it couldn't undo. Chase made me feel seen again, desired, alive. We were careful, so careful. I had separate folders on my phone, passwords within passwords, deleted messages, and scheduled meetings as cover. But even the best laid secrets have a shelf life, and mine expired one stormy Tuesday evening. Ryan had come home early from work. I didn't hear him enter. I was upstairs in my room, alone, or so I thought, watching a video Chase had sent me from our last getaway, laughing at something I had said while we walked hand in hand by the lake. I smiled at my screen, my fingers tracing the outline of his face. I didn't hear the door open. You know Mom's old room has better Wi-Fi? Ryan's voice pierced the silence. My heart stopped. He was standing there, in the doorway, watching me. My phone screen was still lit, frozen on Chase's face. I tried to lock it quickly, but it was too late. Ryan's eyes narrowed. Who is that? I forced a casual laugh, but my voice betrayed me. Just a friend. His gaze hardened. You forget how well I know your married voice. That's not how someone looks at a friend, Madison. The silence between us was suffocating. My hands trembled as I tried to gather myself. Please don't tell anyone. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there, staring at me like I was a stranger. Finally, he muttered, I won't. But you need to figure this out before someone else finds out. That night changed everything. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My pulse raced every time my phone buzzed. I started avoiding Chase, too ashamed to let him know someone else knew. I kept expecting Ryan to blurt it out at dinner, to tell our parents, or worse, call Travis himself. But he didn't. Instead, he watched me. The way he looked at me changed, not in judgment, but in sadness. Like he saw a version of me I never wanted anyone to see. I tried to go on like nothing had happened, but the guilt sat heavy in my chest. Days passed, then a week, then another. I thought maybe he had let it go, until one evening, when I found him sitting on the patio with a beer in hand, eyes fixed on the stars. Why'd you do it? He asked quietly. I didn't pretend to misunderstand. I sat down beside him, my voice barely above a whisper, because I was tired of being invisible. He turned to me slowly. You're not invisible. I chuckled bitterly. Tell that to my husband. We sat in silence for a while, the air thick with unspoken truths. You know, Ryan said, I always thought you had it all together. The perfect life. The perfect marriage. I was jealous, honestly. Don't be. I said. It's all an illusion. A house built on sand. He sipped his beer. Then why stay? I looked at him, eyes glistening. Because sometimes pretending feels safer than falling apart. It was the first honest conversation we'd had in years. From that night on, things shifted between us. Ryan became protective, not nosy or judgmental, just quietly supportive. He covered for me when I needed space. He kept my secret like it was his own. But the tension in the house grew heavier with each passing day. The walls knew things now. The silence was no longer peaceful. Then came the night everything broke. Travis showed up unannounced. I was in the kitchen making tea when he walked in with a cold smile and a bottle of wine. "Surprise, babe," he said. "I thought I'd come spend the weekend." My hands froze on the kettle. Ryan walked in from the hallway, and the room tensed instantly. "Hey, man," Travis greeted him casually. "Still house sitting together?" Ryan nodded, his expression unreadable. That night, at dinner, Travis talked endlessly about business, sports, and his upcoming conference in New York. I barely touched my food. Ryan didn't either. Later, as I stood by the sink, washing dishes, Travis came up behind me and kissed my neck. "You okay? You've been quiet." I forced a smile. "Just tired." He kissed me again and I felt nothing. Ryan walked in just as Travis slipped his hand around my waist. Our eyes met, and something flickered between us. A flash of pain, disappointment, maybe even anger. He turned and left without a word. I found him later in the backyard, his hands clenched into fists. "I can't watch this anymore," he said. "What do you want me to do?" I snapped. "Ruin everything? Tell him over dessert." Ryan looked at me, eyes burning. "You're already ruining yourself." His words stung because they were true. That night, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. The guilt was drowning me. I thought of Chase, his soft voice, the way he looked at me like I mattered. I thought of Travis, the man I married because it was the right thing to do. And I thought of Ryan, the only person who knew my truth, and the way he looked at me now. The next morning, Travis left early for a meeting. I sat at the table, hands shaking, and told Ryan what I'd decided. "I'm ending it. All of it. I'm telling Travis the truth." Ryan nodded slowly. "Are you ready for what comes after?" "No," I whispered. "But I'm ready to stop lying." And I did. I told Travis everything. About Chase. About the loneliness. About how our marriage had become a performance neither of us believed in anymore. He didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just sat in silence, processing. We separated 3 weeks later. I didn't run back to Chase either. I needed space. Time. Healing. Ryan and I still live in the same house for now. Things are quiet. Different. But there's peace in the silence now. A peace that comes from honesty. Sometimes I catch Ryan watching me, not with judgment but with something like pride. Like he's proud I finally faced the truth. I don't know what comes next. But I know one thing for sure. That moment, when my stepbrother saw what I was hiding from everyone, was the beginning of everything I never expected. Not an ending, but a doorway. A painful, necessary, long overdue beginning.